I first want to talk about the most subtle trap, but also the most effective trap that the fallen beings have set for avatars on Earth. And that trap is really our own psychology. What the fallen beings are trying to do, and again, it's not even the fallen beings in physical embodiment, it's the ones in the identity realm. What they're trying to do to an avatar is make us so wounded because of this cosmic birth trauma, the primal self and all these supporting selves. They want to make us so wounded that we can't fulfill our mission on Earth. We can't do what we came for, and especially we can't challenge the fallen beings. We can't stand up to them, and we can't provide an alternative. We can't basically disturb their control and their plans here on Earth. And this, of course, was something that I had sensed for quite some time, but I couldn't really put my finger on what it was until the Ascended Masters released these teachings on the avatars. Then I realized that ever since I received that birth trauma, I had been so focused on myself and my own psychology that I was always reacting to things on Earth. I was so disturbed by what happened on Earth that I was always reacting to it. And I was, in a sense, trying to compensate for it. But this means that I was always internally focused on myself, my own reactions, how do other people look at me, and all of these things. So it was like, instead of having this ability to step back, have the overall view and say, what kind of a planet am I on here? What am I here to do? What's my potential? What's my divine plan that I made before I came into this lifetime? What's my long-term potential here on this Earth? Instead of considering all of these things, I was always reacting. It was always about, oh, I have to be a good person. I have to be seen as a good person. I can't do something really bad, and all of these things. So I was reacting, Can't hurt other people's feelings. I have to find a way, because I felt like I had to talk to people, I had to help people, but they're always rejecting me or ignoring me. So I have to find some kind of way, because there must be something in me. That's why they don't listen to me, because I'm not good enough at explaining it, and all of these things. So you see what I'm trying to say here. There was this overall reason why I came to Earth as an avatar, and of course for you as well. I had a specific divine plan for this lifetime. But I couldn't really see it because my mind was so focused on these internal reactions, my own internal psychology, the separate selves. Basically, you could say that when I was younger, most of my mental activity was one subconscious self interacting with another subconscious self, then activating a third subconscious self. And I look back how I could, especially before I found the Ascended Master teachings, I really had trouble falling asleep at night. All of my childhood, I could sometimes lie awake for 2 or 3 hours. The reason was I had all these thoughts coming into my mind. And I look back at it, and it was simply, part of it was the thoughts were projected from the outside, but they triggered a subconscious self. And then there was a thought process for that self. And then that triggered another subconscious self, which then took over my conscious thoughts. And now this was running for a few minutes. And then another, and it just kept going. It just kept going and going for 2 to 3 hours until I was so exhausted I fell asleep. And as I said, as I've explained in some of my other videos, once I heard about Ascended Masters and I started doing these decrees, especially to the Elohim Astrea, within a few weeks it stopped and I could suddenly go to sleep within 15-20 minutes. But I still would have these thoughts. They weren't as influential as before, but I still would have these thought processes where something was projected at me that triggered my own psychology. It's like, let's say you have a car, and the engine is just revving. It's just running as fast as it can be, but the car isn't in gear. So it isn't going anywhere. It's making all this noise, and it's using all this fuel, but it's just idling. I mean, it's just idling faster and faster and faster until something blows in the engine. And that is what they want to do to us, to our psychology. Take a look at your life. See if you recognize this tendency of being so internally focused. There's this common expression out there, you are driven by your own demons, or you're your own worst enemy. And that's because we have these subconscious selves that are fighting against each other, manipulating each other, pulling on each other, activating each other. And it's just all this noise. There's so much noise inside our minds that we can't really look out and say, am I really just here to sit here and have all this internal noise? Or am I actually here to do something? And so this is the main trap of the fallen beings, to expose us to these atrocities, to pull us into these situations where we feel we made a mistake, so that we create so many of these subconscious selves that all of our attention goes into this internal conflict, this internal noise, static. So much static in the radio that we can't ever hear the program. And when I realized this, I just felt this determination come up from deep inside of me that they're not going to get away with this. Because I knew with the tools that the masters, the Ascended Masters had given us, I knew I had the potential to overcome it. This wasn't back in 2017 when I started getting these. And since then, I have really experienced more growth than in my previous over 40 years on the spiritual path, because I've become much more focused and seen much more clearly what's going on in my own psychology. And I have this tool of always identifying the self, and instead of trying to solve the problem, just let the self die. Just let the self die. Transcend it, forgive, forget, let go, surrender. And it's extremely powerful. It's extremely powerful. So this is certainly the main trap. And I'll probably in coming videos talk more about how they do this, what the psychology is that they pull us into. It's of course different for each one, but I'll at least give some examples of it.